And growth. David, how are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you making yourself available here this evening. I know that this is kind of an interesting time in your life because you're not that far removed from being a student athlete.
No.
And so there's a heck of a lot of relatability where you know exactly what a lot of these kids are going through, but you've got a chance to kind of help mold their futures a little bit because you're in a position where you're helping a lot of these student athletes figure out how to get that foot in the door with their professional careers. Before we get too much into the SIG side, let's reflect a little bit on your time as a student athlete and what that meant to you. When you think back on your time as a wrestler, what are some of the memories that conjure up for you?
Well, some ones on the mat and off the mat. I think a lot about, to be honest, my first memories go back to my first season. So I was a part of Coach Gibbs' first recruiting class. We didn't win a single match in the OAC. And just think about those like struggles that we had to go through, and a lot of what I think about when I reflect are those like grind days of practice where, you know, kind of just sit there afterwards and like, what did we just do? We just, struggled together, got better, and those types of memories I don't think any athlete ever forgets. But then I also think about those special memories like our first OAC championship in 2016 and getting to finish out my career with that group and then joining the team again in 2017 and going back to back. So those are really special. And then when I was helping out in graduate school, I got to be a part of a couple more OAC titles and help coach those guys. So it's a lot of great memories. Think about different training sessions with Coach Gibbs and some of the times we share together. So a lot of good ones, some somber, but all less. I wouldn't trade my career here for anything. BW is a special place. I always say, I made a life-changing decision coming here, and it couldn't be more true to this day.
I love your perspective, and I think it's really cool that you've been able to see both sides of the struggle when you were early on in your career as a team to now where, let's just call it for what it is. BW is the standard bearer in this conference, and in a lot of ways, they're the standard bearer in the region. There's some really good wrestling programs nationally, but Baldwin-Wallace has become one of the premier programs in the country for the last several years now. Now that you're removed from it, and you can maybe have a slightly different perspective on what it's like as a coaching staff, what is it about Coach Gibbs, Coach Zastro, and the way that they have built something that wasn't just a flash in the pan, hey, we got a couple good kids and we made a run, but it's sustained success year in and year out. Why is that happening?
Yeah, well, first, I think those two gentlemen are two of the best college coaches, maybe in any sport, but in wrestling specifically in the country, regardless of division. I'll stand by that, but two things stand out. They work harder than just about any two coaches that I've seen, so they lead by example. And then, more importantly, they build meaningful relationships with their wrestlers. And, I still have great relationships with both of them, but I can think back to my time as a young wrestler and just what Coach Gibbs gave me day in and day out and gave the rest of the guys on the team. Not every coach, not every college coach, not every wrestling coach is like that and cares so deeply. So it isn't just a job for them, it's their life, and I think that's how it is for many coaches out there. But wrestling, they live the lifestyle day in, day out, but they also give the athletes the option to build what they want to build. Coach Gibbs always would talk about great teams, or good teams are coach-led, great teams are player-led, and he allowed our group and the groups afterwards to really set our own standard and make sure that we were taking ownership in our destiny and our legacies.
I'm curious how you have been able to take that mindset into what you're doing now, where you're really hands-on with students more than student athletes, but obviously they are student athletes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that you're in a role that's more driven toward their academic pursuits. How have you taken what you learned as a student athlete into this job?
Yeah, well, I think something that we talk about regularly, even aside from sports, is a lot of skills that you learn, especially in sport, they're transferable to anything you do, any career. You and I do it regularly. So what we talk a lot about is having this growth mindset, and I know that's the language that a lot of the athletic coaches use too, but it's this opportunity of I always want to build, I always want to get better, no matter what. Even if maybe I'm going through a little bit of a struggle, I have that perseverance, that grit to get through it, and I'm never just going to stay complacent with where I'm at. So a lot of what we coach our students and our student athletes to do at the Center for Innovation and Growth and the program that I work with is just that, hey, what can you do today or within this task, this project, to get better? Or how can you take whatever we're talking about and transfer it into another area of your life? For us, it's that personal or professional development. And then how do you reflect on it and turn it into maybe your next course of action?
What did the Center of Innovation and Growth do for you when you were a student that drew you to want to be involved in a role like this professionally?
Yeah, so it just gave me an opportunity to realize that some of the things that I was processing and the critical ways I was thinking about sports, I could think about with my professional career or even my academics. And it gave me a space to kind of realize, like, I am not just a student athlete. I think a lot of guys, student athletes, ladies, gentlemen, they can get into this, I came here to be an athlete, a student athlete, and that's really what I'm going to be involved in. And today, or when I was a student there, it really allowed me to get some roots in another area of campus, meet other people, and just learn that, hey, kind of the way I think about sports, I can think about my professional career too, and that's what we love to do is just say how hard you work on the field, on the court, on the mat. If you do that in your professional career, networking opportunities, good things will happen.
So give us an idea for maybe if there are younger student athletes that see this that haven't had a chance to get to know you or SIG in general. First of all, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you or to get more information about what's going on?
Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold is just to stop by, come to the office, or shoot me an email. We have programs that are courses, college colloquiums, discussion-based programs where we talk about entrepreneurship, innovation, character-based leadership, and that's kind of the open door to the Center for Innovation and Growth. And then through that leads to internship opportunities and other just networking events and networking opportunities. So I'd say just be curious, whether it's contacting me, talking to someone like Steve or your coach. Just be curious and come and ask questions and be open-minded about trying something new that might confuse you a little bit and might scare you.
It's pretty good life advice.
Yeah.
Be curious. You never know what you might find when you start looking around.
Yeah, we often say we want curious, creative, and confused individuals.
I like that. Curious, creative, and confused. That's cool. Okay, so I know you wanted to kind of touch on some internships, right? I mean, that's a huge part of your involvement. Give us the 411 on how you help connect student athletes with local businesses or schools or wherever they need to get going.
Yeah, so my role at BW, I'm the growth practice manager at the Center for Innovation and Growth, and I lead a professionally led student-supported business consultancy. So we have about 6 corporate partners that pay an annual fee to sit on our advisory board, to attend university events, but they also pay this fee for growth consulting projects that are led by myself and another faculty member, along with some other professional staff in our department. But more importantly, our 10 student interns are doing this actual work. So they're trained in voice of the customer interviewing methodology, secondary market research, and a company usually comes to us with some sort of problem. Maybe it's a new product they'd like to take to market, and they have us do the research from start to finish, whether that be the secondary market research or the voice of the customer interviewing with their actual customers. So this is a lot of hands-on practical work that we have for students. And what's great is, as I speak about this, it sounds very quote-unquote businessy, right? But our students come from all backgrounds, all academic disciplines. We're an interdisciplinary program. So these students come to us in the summer. They work a 29-hour-a-week internship where they work on these projects. They go through other professional and personal development, presentation coaching, networking, going to local businesses, and just building social capital. But at the heart of it is this project work where they do the project from start to finish. And then typically with COVID, we've been doing a lot of virtual presentations, but we go into these boardrooms and our students are presenting to high-level management and executives on projects for their company. So just things that you take classroom theory and you apply it to real life. You put it on your resume, and you can go out there and say, this is what I did as a college student. I can walk into your company and make a difference.
I love that. I feel like one of the things as a student athlete that I have often heard, and I'm sure you hear all the time, and you probably experienced yourself, how in the world do you figure out a way to manage your time with all of the commitment that it takes to compete at a high level and pursue, your other. It's great to hear that you can customize it so much on an individual basis, because I think, sometimes you hear the rhetoric that, we'll make it work for you, but you kind of get wedged into one specific way of doing things. So that's terrific.
What's really great is it's summer dominant. So
Sure.
For the student athletes that we do have in our program, they're up here in the summer. They're living here. They're training. Hopefully they have members of their team with them. That was what was great for me when I was a student athlete. I lived in a house with all of my closest friends. We all went to work. We came home. We went right to the athletic center, got our workout in, and we got to spend the rest of the night together, and that really helped with our team chemistry and culture.
I want to wrap with one other thing here that, we often talk with current student athletes, and we talk to a lot of coaches and certainly a lot of, university personnel. But you're unique in that you're not far removed from competing. You are a student, and now you're on the professional side. You're a Northeast Ohio guy. I'm curious, when you reflect back on your journey to BW, what your expectations were, what your hopes were, how those were fulfilled, assuming that they were fulfilled considering you're choosing to work here, and maybe now how you perceive what you thought it would be. How has that journey gone for you?
Well, it's crazy because I have a funny story. I almost didn't come to BW. I was admitted and deposited into Ohio University just to be a student. And one day I was wrestling my family dog around, and my dad said, you should call up that college coach from BW and see if they have a spot on the team. And I did. I called Coach Gibbs, and 4 days later I was accepted and deposited into BW and signed up for an orientation. So to be honest, I didn't have too many expectations. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I don't think we were naive when we first got here. We didn't know what we didn't know, and I think that's what helped our wrestling program out in the long run. We just kind of went at it like your typical wrestling meatheads would and train. But it exceeded my expectations. I mean, my closest friends are members of my wrestling team. My closest confidant is Coach Gibbs. So looking back, I wouldn't trade anything for the world. I think what I would say is BW is a place where you make, again, meaningful connections, not only with your coach, with your faculty member, but with staff members as well. And that's what I really enjoy doing, is I can make these connections with students and help them along the way. And maybe we do have a conversation that they're thinking about having with coach, and we can talk through it and just kind of help them navigate those waters. So I would say what was great and what I take most is those relationships that I've made.
That's amazing, and that's what the experience is all about. That's what you hope somebody walks away from investing 4 years of their life into all the time and energy that you put into your athletics, your academics, your internships, the family sacrifices that go into you go into school, and I just think it's terrific that we've got the kind of program at BW that SIG is able to put together to help foster the growth of these young student athletes. Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight and for sharing your perspective.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see how things go for you moving forward.
Take care. Good luck.
All right, David Shapiro from the Center of Innovation and Growth here at BW. So grateful for his time here.